This final chapter in the book of Numbers wraps up with a legal clarification about land inheritance for daughters, especially the case of the daughters of Zelophehad, which was first brought up in Numbers 27. It ensures that tribal land remains within each tribe even when daughters inherit. Okay? So the concern raised verses 1 to 4. Leaders from the tribe of Manasseh, especially from the clan of Gilead, come to Moses with a question. If Zelophehad daughters marry men from other tribes, their inherited land passed to those tribes, shrinking our territory. The issue is land assigned by tribe could permanently shift from one tribe to another through marriage. Lesson: people the people were deeply committed to preserving God's tribal structure and the quality of the land distribution, okay? So let's check the second part of this chapter, God's solution through Moses, verses 5 to 9. Moses confirmed God's instruction. The daughters of Zelophehad may only marry within their father's tribe. This way, land remains within its original tribal boundaries. This law would apply to all future cases where daughters inherit land. Principle: no inheritance shall pass from one tribe to another. Each tribe shall retain its own inheritance. Lessons: marriage and inheritance were linked to covenant identity and land responsibility. Also, God wanted to ensure that the promised land remained organized, fair, and according to his plan. Okay? So let's jump to the next part. Daughters obey, verses 10 to 12. Zelophehad's daughters, Mala, Tirzah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Noah, do exactly as God commands. They marry within their clan, preserving the inheritance. Lesson: they showed honor, obedience, and responsibility with that God entrusted them. Okay, so the second part of this the next part of this chapter covers the closing verse 13. These are the commands and regulations the Lord gave through Moses to the Israelites. This marks the final instruction given before the Israelites cross into the promised land. All right, so what are the themes and lessons from this chapter from Numbers 36? First is obedience protects God's design. Even in practical matters like land and marriage, God's structure matters. Second, faithful stewardship includes long-term thinking. Tribal leaders weren't just thinking of the present, they were protecting generations' inheritance. Third, God's instruction blend justice and order, okay? The daughter's right to inherit is balanced with the tribe's right to preserve their land, okay? Fourth lesson, the book ends with readiness. Everything is in place. People, land, leadership, law. The next step is crossing into the land, which begins in Joshua, okay? So, what is the conclusion? This chapter, Numbers 36, closes the book by showing that God, excuse me, let me say that again. Numbers 36 closes the book by showing that Numbers 36 closes the book by showing that God's people took his promises seriously, not just in worship or war, but in everyday things like land, marriage, and inheritance. It's a picture of a community shaped by justice, obedience, and preparation, ready to step into the fulfillment of everything God had promised. Okay, so drop a comment, hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe to this channel.